Our next big decision is the alignment of the text, and of course we have practically two choices. Is it going to be left aligned, or sometimes referred to as ragged right, or is it going to be left justified, sometimes just referred to as justified? And those are our options: left, left justified. Do we want the extra space at the end of the line, or do we want that extra space distributed throughout the line between the words? And we can see that when we go to left alignment here, it does create quite a problem of extra varying spaces between the words. Now, there are certain settings that we can choose if we do want to go with justified alignment that will minimize that, but that is the issue with working with justified text. The issue when working with left aligned text is we want to make sure that our rag on the right hand side is as even as possible. So just before we look at the settings, let's take a look at some examples. And I've come to the conclusion, based upon nothing more than my own observations and anecdotal evidence, that left-aligned text is favored more in Europe and justified text favored more in the US. And there are so many exceptions to that broad generalization that it is just that, a very broad generalization. So here we have some fairly randomly chosen examples. Here we see justified text, and justified text, it's going to make things look more ordered, more symmetrical. Note that the justified text is combined with ragged alignment on the captions. Again, justified text, justified again and again. But now we see some text that is left aligned, more asymmetrical, perhaps less formal. There's no right or wrong here. It is largely a matter of preference. But as I alluded to, there are certain implications of both different types of alignment. So I'm just going to choose this single paragraph here, 4 clicks to select the whole paragraph. And let's say that we do want to make this justified, Command-Shift-J or Control-Shift-J, or I can use the icon on the control panel. Then to do this, well, I'm going to need to go and look at the justification settings. So when we're working with any kind of ragged alignment, only the desired column has any effect. But with justified text, the minimum and the maximum determine the range between which the spacing can vary. And right now, only the word space is being called upon. The letter spacing and the glyph scaling, which is the horizontal scaling of the characters, are having no effect whatsoever. So if we bring those into play, we can make things a little less stressful for the word spacing. And then if I turn on my preview, we can see that's made some difference. And I'm also going to allow a very modest amount of glyph scaling between 97, leave the desired at 100, and the maximum at 103. Okay, still, that's not looking too good. I mean, I am going to go with left-aligned text. I just want to point out that if you are going to be using justification, you definitely want to call upon these options to get your text better justified so that the word spacing is as consistent as possible. That's what you're aiming for. Now, there is another option that we need to consider here, and it's the composer. And this is relevant for left-aligned or for justified text. And we have these two choices. Adobe Paragraph Composer, which is currently on, means that when InDesign is composing the paragraph, figuring out how to adjust the spacing between the words in order to achieve consistent spacing, is it looking in the whole paragraph, or is it just looking on the single line? Theoretically, with the Adobe Paragraph Composer, because it has a wider area over which to vary the spacing, that variance is going to be less noticeable. So that's generally the preferable option that you want to go with. However, sub-editors tend to dislike this option a lot because, and I'll see if I can replicate the problem, if I click into this paragraph and I now start typing, I don't know if you could see that, but as I was typing, the text both in front of and behind the cursor is changing. And the implications of this are where text has already been proofread and approved, making an edit will cause the line endings to change and require that it be reapproved. So for that reason, some publications favor the single line composer. I'm not going to use it. I'm going to keep with the Adobe Paragraph Composer, and so that we don't have to worry about the headache of varying word space, and since we are working with a relatively narrow column measure, I'm going to go with left alignment. Anyway, so nothing has actually changed, but I did have to consider a number of factors so I could at least discount the other alignment options.